Moving into section 6.6 on fundamental theorem of algebra, we're going to look at example 1 here. We are to write the simplest polynomial function with the zeros -3, 1/2, and 1. So for the last little while, we've been finding zeros, and now they're giving us our zeros, and we need to find the polynomial. So we need to work backwards, basically. So what we're going to do is set up, we have 3 zeros, so we're going to have 3 sets of parentheses. And remember, the zeros are what goes into these equations to make them equal to 0. So that -3 is actually going to be a +3. The 1/2 would be -1/2, and 1 would be -1. And then x's just go in the front. So we have 3 sets of parentheses that these 3 zeros that they gave us would be the answer to. Now what we have to go through is multiplying these 3 together. So we can't multiply all 3 together at one time. We will be so messed up. So we're going to multiply the first 2 together and get our answer, and then we're going to multiply that by the third one. So these are binomials. So what I'm going to have to do is FOIL. So again, we're just looking at the quantity of x plus 3 and the quantity of x minus 1/2 right now. And we're going to multiply the first 2 terms. So that would be x times x, and that's x squared. Then we're going to multiply the outside terms. -1/2 times x would be -1/2 x. Inside terms would be 3 times x, so that's 3x. And last terms would be 3 times -1/2, and that would be -1.5. And then we can combine our middle 2 terms, so that would be x squared. We have -1/2 and 3, so that's going to be -2.5 or +2.5. So I'm going to put 2.5x, and then -1.5 would be -1.5. Then that's our answer for multiplying the first 2. Then we're going to multiply that by that third one. So I'm going to put that out front. A couple different ways to do this. There's the box method, or we could FOIL it. And it's not really FOIL because it's not 2 binomials that we're multiplying, but you would have to take the x in the first and multiply it by all 3, and then you'd have to take that -1 and multiply it by all 3, and then put your terms together. I prefer to use the box method because it kind of keeps you organized and keeps everything in together. So we have a 2 term by a 3 term. So we need to make a box that's 2 terms by 3 terms. And the 2 terms are x and -1. The 3 terms are x squared, 2.5x, and -1.5. And then it's kind of like almost like lattice where we multiply. The first box would be x times x squared, so that would give us x to the third. Underneath of that, we would have -1 times x squared, so that would be -x squared. Then at the top of the middle, we'd have 2.5x times x, so that would be 2.5x squared. And then we'd have 2.5x times -1, so that would be -2.5x. Then at the top, we'd have -1.5 times x, so that would be -1.5x. And then at the bottom, we'd have -1 times -1.5. That would leave us with a +1.5. Now we can put like terms together, and if we look almost on an angle, the like terms match up for us. So x cubed is the only one with a cube. Then we have a -1 and a +2.5x squared. So that would leave me with +1.5x squared. Then for the regular x's, we have -2.5 and -1.5. So that would leave me with -4x. And then we have a +1.5. So this is the polynomial. If we factored it, if went backwards and factored it, we would get the zeros that were given above. All right, so one more question like this. Our zeros are -2, 2, and 4. So remember to set these up, we have to make opposites. So x plus 2, x minus 2, and x minus 4. So FOIL the first two. First would be x squared. Outside would be -2x. Inside would be +2x. And last would be -4. Now the -2x and the 2x cancel, so we would be left with x squared minus 4 for our final answer there. Then we have to multiply it by our last set, and you can write it in the front or the back, it doesn't matter, which is x times 4. So again, this is a binomial by a binomial. So I could do FOIL. You can do the box method for these as well, a 2 by 2 square, if that's easier for you. So whatever works best is fine by me. So I'm going to stick with FOIL. So I have x squared times x, which would be x cubed. Outside, -4 times x squared, so that would be -4x squared. Inside would be -4 times x, so that's -4x. And last, we have -4 times -4, which is a +16. So this would be the polynomial. If we factored it out and solved, we would get -2, 2, and 4 for our final answer.